Oh my god! Jujutsu Kaisen just dropped the biggest reveal to unlock the answer to the story's riddle: Sukuna's revival. Chapter 209 explains 3 crucial points that we must connect. Number 1. How exactly will Sukuna be revived, and what did Uraume mean by stating she can create a bath for him? Number 2. The insane foreshadowing and symbolism behind it. And number 3. Kenjaku's real plan regarding the culling games. I want to give a huge shout out to Alan JJK on Reddit for pointing this out for the community. Editor, give him a round of applause from me. Now, we all know Kenjaku dropped a bombshell in the culling games. He has started a war against Satoru freaking Gojo by informing all the world leaders in power about curse energy. And since all wars revolve around the preservation of energy, wealth and power, the corrupt governments of the world want to use Satoru Gojo as an infinite resource to amplify their energy. But what if I told you Kenjaku has another bombshell on the way? In chapter 209, Gege Akutami, in a meta method of using Kenjaku's character, explains that only 60% of our analysis in the community so far is correct regarding the conclusion of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. But by the end of this video, you will know the other 40% because, you know, we go balls deep. That's why you must stay till the end and hit the notification bell to not miss out. Ever since Sukuna reincarnated in Yuji Itadori's body, he has wanted nothing more than acquiring his freedom, or more specifically, his terrifying true form. In chapter 3, Sukuna even threatens to make Yuji's body his own. I mean, a 1,000-year-old natural disaster being forced to behave by a middle schooler? But that doesn't stop some of you know what I'm saying.
Bro, if I was a girl, legs wide open, bro.
Stuck in this less than ideal scenario is out of character for Sukuna, and we've seen him give Yuji hell multiple times, mocking his emotions with Mahito and even making him bear the sin of killing hundreds of people in Shibuya. But it's obvious that he has his own plans of true reincarnation in the works. As shown in chapter 117, Sukuna instructs his subordinate from the Heian era, Uraume, to not neglect preparations and that he'll see her soon. Besides this very evident hint of his return, even Kenjaku calls out to Sukuna in chapter 136, informing him that the Heian era is about to begin again. And since Kenjaku is a huge mastermind who has planned everything for 1,000 years, including Yuji Itadori's birth, there's no doubt he is expecting Sukuna to make his own moves. What's more is Sukuna's undying interest in Megumi since their first clash in chapter 7. Remember guys, Megumi has the potential to be as strong as Satoru Gojo, if not more, since their clan's ancestors had the same curse techniques that ended up killing each other in a fight 300 years ago. So, Sukuna going out of his way to save Megumi's life by taking out Maharaga means that he is definitely a part of Sukuna's plan. All this is on top of the suspicious binding vow Sukuna coerced Yuji into making with him. This allows him to take over Yuji Itadori's body for exactly 1 minute if he chants end chain. However, during this minute, he cannot hurt or kill anyone. We have finally discovered when Sukuna will utilize this vow.
It's about time.
Sukuna stating he wouldn't spill some blood is blasphemy to his nature. But in chapter 209, Uraume and Kenjaku are in the training room of the Zenin clan, where Maki and Mai were thrown into in chapter 149. Uraume remarks that this is the perfect place to create a bath that will satisfy Sukuna. It turns out that the bath Uraume is referring to has roots in both Buddhism and Hinduism, two principles that Jujutsu Kaisen heavily draws inspiration from. The kanji for this bath also means ablution, which in Buddhism is the commemoration of Buddha's enlightenment. While a statue of Buddha is bathed in water for this ceremony, even Shinto believers undertake the same ritual using water to purify one's mind and spirit. In fact, the statue of Buddha that used in this ceremony is the same form that uttered the words, "Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one." And it has one hand pointed towards the sky and the other at the ground. Connecting the dots to chapter 30, we see that the story refers to Sukuna as the honored one as well, telling us that there's a definitive link between them. The people who have our notification bell on know from this video that enlightenment is the end goal in the story. A Jujutsu sorcerer dies with regrets, as Principal Yaga said, and the only way to escape from the ever-present suffering in the Jujutsu world is to achieve the state of nirvana. To achieve this status is to cleanse or purify your mind, which is described as the source of suffering in both Jujutsu Kaisen and Buddhism. An impure mind with negative thoughts and emotions are two things that impact sorcerers the most, and it has to be purified to achieve enlightenment. Curse energy is created from negative emotions and actions. Therefore, by achieving enlightenment, you have entered a new realm of existence that can bestow authority over it in its purest form. This concept of cleansing has been hinted at multiple times in the story. First, the incantation for casting a curtain has a line stating, "Purify that which is impure." In fact, it is derived from a Shinto expression that means to be cleansed of all impurities. Diving deeper within that expression, impurities are referred to as kegare, the same term Higuruma himself uses in chapter 166. Which brings us to the second hint, ladies and gentlemen. Higuruma taking a dramatic bath when Yuji Itadori found him. We already know that Higuruma was regretting his actions here, thinking of how he's an impure being for acting on his impulses. He was weak and ugly like the others because he couldn't be a bigger and better person. This heavily implies that his bathing is actually a nod to the Shinto ritual of cleansing your mind of any depravity, sins, or impurity, which is something that Higuruma was hoping for. In addition, our third hint actually comes from Gege Akutami, the creator of Jujutsu Kaisen himself. He specifically told fans to make sure to look for a clue within opening 1 regarding the future events of the story. In this opening, we can see water filling up around Yuji, which follows up with Sukuna's finger turning into a plant, indicating life itself blooming out. There's another foreshadowing in the second opening, Vivid Vice. In the animated sequence, Sukuna can be seen wearing white garbs that closely relates to Shinto rituals whilst being surrounded by water. This song's third verse also mentions the same kegare. In the lyrics, the filth residing in hollow feelings shattered, which tells us that the only way to shatter the filth of mind is through purifying it. As for the last hint, Gege Akutami's illustration showing a bloodbath around Yuji to commemorate the anime's start as well. It suggests that the answer has been hidden in plain sight all this time. So, how do Yuji and Sukuna come into this? One way to decipher this is that the concept of defilement or impurity is closely linked to ritual purity. By having Sukuna inside of him, Yuji is impure, which means that the Shinto ritual of bathing would purge the impurity out of him, in this case Sukuna himself. In fact, it cannot be a coincidence that in chapter 199, Angel states that there's a 1% chance that a host and their tenant can actually separate when questioned about it, therefore implying that Itadori and Sukuna can split from each other. This ritual of a bath can also be undertaken in a private setting, like Uraume intends to use the Zenin Curse pit. Remember, this is the same pit where Maki turned into a free bird, not being held down by her clan or her limited abilities, a step towards her own enlightenment. What's even more insane is that this arc was called the Perfect Preparation arc and could refer to both Naoya's return and, well, Sukuna's ascent to his true form with this bath. Yep, just like Maki, he would also achieve his freedom by getting split from Yuji. The evidence that solidifies every clue we have found is in chapter 209. We can see some ropes, right? Technically, they are called Shimenawa bundles going across the room. This bundle of rope is actually used in ritual purification in the Shinto religion, making this place perfect according to Uraume for Sukuna. However, there's more to this ritual than just Sukuna's freedom, since it concerns enlightenment or the end of suffering, which is often referred to as the other side or Higan. And we know one person who's keen on sending the entirety of Japan to the other side. That's right, Kenjaku. In chapter 56 and 146, there's a part lost in translation that refers to Higan. In Megami's words, stepping over a river or a boundary, crossing over to the other side, the act of doing so has a great meaning for Jujutsu. This means that even though Higan isn't a physical place, it refers to a drastic change in the state of mind. As a matter of fact, Higan also translates as the Buddhist services being held during the equinoctial week. And guess what? Gege is a madman. And think about this clue. Yuji's birthday, March 20th, is actually the day of the equinox, which is also called Higan. Is your mind blown yet? If it is, make sure to hit the bell. All of this information is linked to another theory, where Yuji's progress ever since consuming the first Sukuna finger is compared to a pregnancy. According to this theory, the metaphorical 9 months will be over on Yuji's birthday. This cannot be a coincidence, as it is said to be the day when the gate to the other world is opened. Once again, this links back to Kenjaku telling Satoru Gojo in chapter 91 that they will meet in a new world that he's creating. By sending all people of Japan to the other side, Kenjaku wants to create a new world of evolution. He wants everyone to understand themselves and curse energy in intricate details, telling us that the main idea of the culling game is Kenjaku actually turning Shinto rituals and enlightenment on their head. When the point of collective consciousness is reached, everyone will be immersed in negativity and curse energy. As Tengen stated, it will spread everywhere quite easily, breaking the fragile balance and pushing the Jujutsu world deeper into suffering. The revival of Sukuna will only contribute to this misery and despair, which is exactly what Kenjaku wants, the return of the golden age of curse techniques. In fact, Kenjaku gathering hundreds of people in the culling game colonies can also be a parallel to the Hindu ritual of Kumbha baths, since bathing is considered sacred even in this religion. On the day of the Kumbha Mela, tens of millions of pilgrims bathe in the holy waters of rivers in hopes of getting cleansed of their sins and attaining moksha, setting them free from the cycle of birth and death. According to the law, Shiva even says that wetting the body is one thing and washing away the filth of mind is another. It's important to note this, as the inspiration behind Sukuna's weapons and curse techniques actually comes from Hinduism, such as the Vajra. All of this informs us that there's something huge regarding Yuji and Sukuna that will take place soon, especially because Kenjaku told Choso in chapter 205 3 that Yuji's role as a vessel is done. Therefore, in conclusion, Uraume doing the preparation for Sukuna is linked to the bath, splitting him from Yuji Itadori. If you want to continue watching peak fiction, don't forget to check out our video about how Kenjaku manufactured Yuji's entire life and that he's actually half cursed. Bye bye.